All right, I want to welcome all of you today. I have a special guest with me, Lindsay Vastola, and she has a great topic to share with us. And that's all I have to say. So, Lindsay, take it away.
Yes, we will get as much time in as we can together so I can give some great information. There's a little, let me try. Amanda, how's that audio? Just give me a thumbs up or
It's better now. It was echoing, and now it's better.
I think we're good to go. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining, whether you're here live or watching the recording. My goal today is to give you as much information in the next few minutes that might help you, what I call uncover or find the missing links in your health journey. So whether that means weight loss or managing a chronic disease or just optimizing your energy, oftentimes we just feel like there is a missing link, like there is something that's just missing. We keep going back to food and exercise, and it's just we kind of end up back at square one. So I'm hoping to give you a new perspective that might hopefully give you a few aha moments. So when we talk about the missing links, let me make sure, and if you are live, feel free to put some questions in the chat box. I will try to get to any questions there. But, I want to start here because one reason why, and I see what really holds back so many women from achieving their optimal health goals is we don't allow for life to happen, right? We start the fitness plan, we start the diet plan, we start the nutrition plan, and it really, our success only seems to hinge on whether or not it's a perfect week, right? We can't have schedule changes. We can't have something unexpected come up. And this is really where, when we talk about long-term success, is understanding that one of the missing links is trying to navigate and figure out how to still stay on track, understanding that life is under no obligation to give us what we expect. So we wait for the perfect week, or we say, you know what, I started Monday, but on Thursday, it's just been too crazy of a week. I'll just start again next week. And we have, the sooner we realize that life is not going to go according to plan, and we start adjusting and we start kind of looking differently at how we approach our plans, with the understanding that nothing will go according to plan, we're setting ourselves up for longer success. So that kind of frames it, I hope, for you. I want to talk about, I'm going to address 5 missing links, if you will. The first missing link I want to address is talking about the 5 factors of optimal health. Now, again, optimal health can mean many things, and they mean different things to you than somebody else. But they all require, whether it's weight loss, a management of a disease, optimal energy, longevity, and vitality, we must address these 5 factors. These 5 factors are fitness for everyday life. Now, notice it's not exercise or a workout plan. We need to be able to adequately move our body, have the strength and mobility that our body needs for everyday functionality, so that we can go up and down the stairs and not feel completely winded or put stress on our heart and lungs, so that we can get up and down off of the floor, so that we can travel, so that, just our bodies are optimized. Another thing we need is energizing nutrition. Again, I'm very, especially in the 8-Week Body Project, we're very conscious about the words that we choose, because when we start talking about these things differently, we start acting on them differently. So when we say energizing nutrition means that you are eating adequate, abundant, nutrition-dense foods that are right for you. Now, with that being said, energizing nutrition, I believe, what energizes us, we have what gives our physical bodies energy, And then we have our things that give our soul energy. I always say, like, there's food for function and for health, and then there's food for our soul. Now, we can't be eating the food for our soul all the time. But when we start looking at food that way, we stop demonizing, every little thing that we put into our mouth, which keeps us on that roller coaster and in that frustrating dieter mindset. The third component we need, another one, is proper hydration. This might not seem very earth-shattering, but our bodies are made up of almost 70% water weight. We need water, adequate hydration for focus, for brain health, to flush toxins, to decrease inflammation. We need it for our muscles. Muscles are mostly made of water. So we need to make sure that we are properly hydrating. We need restful sleep. We need adequate and restful sleep. This is one that tends to go to the wayside. We say, oh, I can function fine on 5.5 hours of sleep, or I can sleep when I'm dead, right? We need restful sleep. And the last one here is mindset and stress management. And this is a piece that we know plays a role, but we don't often look at it as a key component to reaching optimal health. Stress plays a role in weight gain. Stress plays a role in injuries and chronic disease. So all 5 of these play together. You can't exercise every day and not manage your stress properly. You can't drink a ton of water and not get restful sleep. You can't and you can't eat carrots and hummus all day long, but meanwhile be leading a stressful life, chronically stressful life, and expect to reach your optimal health goals. So these 5 really need to work together and in tandem. I want to show you a visual here of why it's so important that we look at all of these 5 factors. So this is an assessment of a client of mine that I worked with for several years. She started, in 2012. I believe she was 53 years old, and this is her journey. You can kind of see this is actually her body fat percentage, and we're looking at trends, right? And that's an important kind of side note, is one reason we get derailed from our goals is because we're only looking at the scale as a measure of our success, and it never tells the whole story. So this is her journey, and I want to point out a few things. So, and we're looking at trends. So this first one, let's say this is over the course of probably 6 months or so. A little bit of a peak increase is not really that big of a deal, but when we start seeing it gradually increase, this woman was doing the same, fitness routine things and eating the same things she actually lost about 30 pounds here before we started tracking this way. So she hits what we call and know as a plateau, right? I'm sure many of you have either said this, understood it, or get where I'm saying, right? She's kind of hitting a place where she's not seeing progressive results. And what we needed to do is I sat down with her, we looked at what she was doing, and I looked at each of those 5 markers. How's your hydration? Hydration's good. That's not really one we need to change very much. How's your sleep? I'm sleeping pretty well, pretty consistently. How's your stress management? Typical, stress, but she's, doing as best she can, nothing, out of the ordinary, if you will. And then we looked at, mindset. She was in a positive mindset generally, and sleep. So we're checking the 4 boxes. She's exercising as she was for a while. And then we got to nutrition, and we said, you know what, this is where we might need to make a few tweaks, because what you were eating over the last 3 to 4 years that got you the results to where you are now, 30 pounds lighter, your body is different and has different needs. So let's tweak your nutrition, right? So that was, how we hit the whole 5. And you can see here, she dipped back down. Now, this very quick increase, this is, 2 months or so. This very drastic increase, she had an unexpected family death. Very unexpected, created, just a significant stress. And so, as we saw this creep up over 2 months, thankfully, she was able to keep up with her fitness routine. I'm sure she wasn't eating perfectly, right? But we said, listen, here's what we really need to focus. right? You're drinking your water pretty well, your exercise, but we need to look at managing your stress and your sleep. So let's get you back into a good sleep routine. She started doing just some simple quiet time exercises meaning like one thing we teach in the 8-week body project is a pose at the end of the day to put your legs up on the wall, right? For 5 minutes. It calms your nervous system. It helps decrease your stress hormones. Those stress hormones are the X factor when it comes to, your ability to lose body fat. So we focused on that. You can see that, her body fat dropped down again. Now this other increase, and this was over the course of about 8 or 9 months. So she was actually training for a triathlon. This was the first time she had ever done anything like this. She was 55 years old. She and a bunch of women, really wanted to set a goal for themselves. So you think logically, they're biking, they're swimming, they're exercising more than they ever have in their life. One would think, oh my gosh, they must have been in the best, leanest shape of their life, right? They were in good condition, but you'd think they'd be really lean and not, gaining weight. And actually, and this just wasn't in her case, it was the case for the other women as well, where they actually increased their overall body fat. And what we needed to do once they got through their training, we said, listen, you've just intensely trained for several weeks, if not a couple months. We need to just adjust your exercise. We actually need to do less. You need to do more walking, more yoga. Don't do the high intensity, because the high intensity exercise is actually another stress on your body, right? So, and meanwhile, she was still working her full-time job, taking care of family and kids. So her real life stress on top of physical training stress was that cause for that increase. So I show this to you because we can't just look at eat less, exercise more anymore. This is our knee-jerk response. Well, if I want to lose weight or if I want to get healthy, it means I need to just eat less and exercise more. We have to understand that achieving optimal health is so much more. And those 5 factors is something that you need to be looking at and assessing regularly. So that's number 1. Number 2, one of the most important, and I spoke about it as the 5, but looking at mindset and properly and intentionally. And I put retraining because we've trained our mindset, but most of our mindset we've trained to be negative, focused on everything we can't do or all the food we can't eat. And we have to retrain it to look at things differently. This is an image that we show over and over and over again in the 8-week body project, because when you go on a diet plan or a fitness plan or even, a financial savings plan, these plans say, change your actions, eat less, exercise more, and then you're going to get the outcomes that you want, whether it's weight loss or saving X amount of money. But the reason why we end up on this yo-yo, so if you think about it, right, this is the yo-yo. Well, if I just eat less and exercise more, then I'm going to get the outcome. Okay, I lose a bunch of weight and I'm really, I hit my goal, but then the holidays happen or I get injured or I get sick. Okay, but then I go back to my old habits, right? And then we just create that vicious cycle. And the X factor is, until we change our thought patterns, we will continue that very frustrating loop of success, failure, start again, end again, right? And so we have to understand that thoughts, how we think, lead to the choices that we make. They lead to our actions, our habits, and then ultimately our outcomes. So until we start changing the way that we think and on a regular basis, our actions will just, continue to spiral us back to where we were before. So when we talk about strengthening the mindset, we need to have a new perspective of strength training, because we all know that strength training, when we hear physical fitness, you go to the gym, you do the circuit of resistance training, and that will build resistance and strength in your muscles and your joints. It's quite obvious, right? We don't take the same approach when it comes to our mental and emotional fitness. And we have to train it the same way. We need to be consistent. If you don't do the circuit a certain number of times a week on a regular basis, you won't get those results. Same with our mental and emotional health. We can't just, for a few days, try to think positively and expect meaningful results in our life. We need to be intentional. We have to be purposeful in saying, this is a change that I want. So just like I want to change my physical body, I know that I want mental strength and emotional strength, and be purposeful. You need the right tools. You go to the circuit and you have the machines, you have the dumbbells, you have the equipment to get your body strong. Mental and emotional fitness is the exact same way. There are tools that will help you get mentally tougher, more resilient, different exercises, different ways to think about things. And most importantly, you need the right people. You need that coach, right, at your club that if you're not showing up is calling you and saying, hey, where are you? We miss you. Come on in and let's start again. Or, you go and you have that community of women who have the same goals as you and support you to help you achieve your goals as well. So we need a new perspective of strength training. We can't just do the exercise and think that it's going to be the only part of the answer. So how do we do this? How do we strengthen the mind? We first need to gain our knowledge and awareness of how this most important muscle up here in between our ears, how it affects, right, thoughts, actions, and outcomes. When we understand how our mind works, then we can start to retrain it. Here's 5, and I'm going to go through this very simply. We go through this more in detail in the 8-week body project, but this kind of gives you an idea of, if we're talking about physical fitness, that, your functional muscles are there to lift and squat and move and twist. And we have to understand how our mind works in the same way so we can train it. We need to understand that our brain scans for danger. That's the number one thing that it does because it wants to protect us for survival. It protects you from future pain. When you were a child and you touched the stove for that first time and it burned you, your brain immediately set neurological triggers that told you the next time, don't touch that stove because I don't want you to get hurt and I want you to survive. It adapts physiologically. Under stress, certain hormones increase in order to try to calm you down. Right? And what happens then is the brain wants to bring you to a place of calm. And so it starts to seek out things that will make you feel calm, like food, sugar, alcohol, mindlessly scrolling on Facebook. These are things that the brain thinks will calm you down. It seeks social approval. This is why it can be so hard when maybe you try a diet, but your spouse or somebody in your family, or you go to a party and everybody's eating bad, not the best food. It's harder for you because your brain says, no, I want to be part and I want to be accepted by the group. And the beautiful thing about our brain is that it does talk to us. So the reason why the brain does this is because it wants to protect you. And understand that every time that you've maybe failed a diet, and I say that failed because nobody ever fails, but it just didn't work, right, as you expected it to, your brain interprets that as danger and disappointment. If your brain doesn't want to feel disappointment, so the next time you try a diet, it says, oh, no, last time you did that, I didn't like that feeling of disappointment, so I'm actually going to sabotage you from succeeding at this. I know it seems very backwards, but when we understand this, now we can start retraining it. But it talks to us. It talks to us in a language called thoughts and emotions. In the 8-week body project, we actually use an exercise to see where what are the thoughts that drive your actions? Just like when you go to the gym for the first time, you go around the circuit and you say, okay, I can do, in 30 seconds, I can do that exercise 10 times. You create a baseline and then you know where to work from. This does the same. We have to know where we're starting before we try to get to where we want to go. Third, so I hope this is helpful so far. Third is we have to create our missing plans. See, we all have a fitness plan and we all have a diet plan, but how many of you have a plan to better manage your stress? How many of you have an actual sleep plan, a routine that ensures that you get restful, adequate sleep? How many of you have what I call a slip up plan, or you could call it a back on track plan or a reset plan? When life happens and it pulls you off from your normal routine and normal habits, how do you get back on? Do you have a plan for that? And this is a huge missing link because, again, we go back to the fitness plan and we go back to the diet plan that we think works for us, but we need these other plans in place because, again, we're looking at those 5 factors, right? So a stress plan. Do you know, what are the things that you need to do to get back to what I call center, right? How do you operate your best? Who are the people around you in those moments of stress? Do you have a way to get back on track, to get out of that moment of frustration? Do you have those actions in place? 3 actions that you can do, right? Everybody needs kind of that stress plan to get them back so you can go back and be more level-headed in the in that situation. The sleep plan. Something like I use something I call daily anchors. So what are 3 things that you can do every morning, first thing, and 3 things that you can do before bed? These anchor your day. One of the frustrations I think we feel most often is that we feel like we don't have control. If we feel more in control of the day, then we feel like we're productive. We feel like we're actually making progress and have momentum. But if we just accept that the middle part of the day is really out of our control, things will come up. We can do our best. We can have our to-do lists. But if we start the day and end the day with 3 little actions that help us feel in control, we're more likely to feel more grounded, not as overwhelmed. And that helps us take more positive actions and make better choices through the day. And then finally, your slip up plan. This is what I call the reset button. What do you do when you're off track? How do you get right back on track? You went on vacation. What do you do that next day when you come back? What's the plan? What are the 3 things? I love the number 3 because I feel like it's very attainable and achievable. 3 things that you can do after you get sick, after vacation, after the holidays, after a pandemic, right? What can bring you back to get you back on track? You must have a plan for that. So those are some missing links. 4, we're in our last 2 here. End the roller coaster. This is what frustrates us is we feel like, I know what I'm supposed to do. Why can't I just stick with it? I feel like I just yo-yo and I can never be consistent. I love the definition of insanity as, keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? That's the definition of insanity. We have to do something different. So if you keep going back to that same diet plan and you keep falling off track, you have to do something different. And so there's 4 quick things that I want to, in order to end that roller coaster is you've got to understand why. I'm using diet as an example, but if you go on a diet that says only eat so many calories a day, why? Do you really know why? Don't eat sugar. Why? Right? If we only think that it's to lose weight, I can tell you after working with over 1,500 women through this program, losing weight is actually never the deep-rooted motivator that keeps us going. We think it is, but it's not. If we understand why sugar is really not healthful for us, and we find reasons that really resonate with us deeply, then we're more likely to not continue those unhealthy habits. But we must understand why, and that includes understanding some of the science even behind those things. We have to assess our starting point. Where are you starting? Many of us go back, if we've been off track for the last year and a half and we're like, today's going to be the day I'm going to go back to the gym and do the circuit. And you do it that first time and you feel exhausted and sore. And where does our mind go? Oh my gosh, I've lost all my progress. I was so much better at this a year and a half ago. And we just go down that very negative path. And instead of saying, you know what, Okay, I wish that I didn't have that year and a half, but I can learn from it. And today is my starting point. So today I could do 10 reps and I want to continue building, but we have to assess, know where we're starting and build from there. And as I mentioned before, definition of insanity, you can't keep doing the same thing over again and expecting different results. You have to change your strategy. You have to find something different. So I want to talk, quickly, one of these strategies may be something called habit stacking. This is if we keep going back to those diet plans, which maybe those things, there could be some very good, healthful things about it. But if we can't integrate it in a way that lasts in our life, what's the point? So instead, there is a method, proven method called habit stacking. This is, I use the example of math. When you were a child, you didn't go right from, kindergarten to learning multiplication. You learn to, understand your numbers, learn to add, learn to subtract, and you built those skills on top of each other. You stacked those skills. Likewise, health, well-being, everyday habits are the same. We have to build on them. So the 8-week program, this is just an example of a methodology of habit stacking. Most diet programs, any program, again, whether it's fitness or finance, it's like do all these actions overnight and try to do them perfectly. Oh, and by the way, try to keep up with your real life. That's going on too. Instead of saying, let's focus on one habit and let's figure out how it works for you. And once that becomes easy, then we layer on the next one. And then you get really good at that, right? You get good at counting and then good at addition and then good at subtraction. So in the 8-week body project, we take 8 of these healthy habits and we stack them. This way your brain has a easier time adapting to the changes and integrating them long-term rather than feeling like it's so much work to do all of them at one time. Our brain literally cannot capacitate that much change. Okay, so we're here on the final one in the last couple minutes here. We have our, if we have our mindset, we know all the tools, then it's about keeping momentum. It's great when it's great, right? It's great when you're on track until it's not. And the way to do this is we have to become more resilient. We have to learn how to course correct. Life will throw us situations that are unexpected. What are the non-negotiables that root us, right? What can we go back to that hold us and keep us resilient even when there's unexpected things that come up in our life? So resilience is really the key. How do we build that resilience? And we build the resilience through habit stacking so that it's easy. Nobody wants to be overthinking every day. What do I eat today? Or, oh my gosh, what is this going to make me lose weight? Or I hate parties because I always make the bad choices. Or the holidays, I always get off track. It's so burdensome on our mind and on our hearts. And if we can find a way, and it is possible, I've seen it over and over again. I've personally experienced that, where you can go from that overwhelm to ease. And it really, it's a little bit of work at first, but it is possible. So I hope that that's what you walk away with today, that it doesn't have to be so overwhelming and challenging to achieve your optimal health goals. But we need to make sure that we are addressing these missing links and not going back to our typical eat less, exercise more frame of mind. And with that, you've probably seen the information about the 8-week body project empowered by curves. This is a mindset and habit change program that addresses these missing links. Here's the information for our next fall session. We start October 18th. We do have information sessions coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. The times they're listed are US times, and we'll be sending out, check your email for a Zoom link, but I'll talk more about the specific details of the program. With that, Amanda, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. It's always a pleasure. I hope all of you got at least a tidbit. I limited her to 30 minutes, so she's talking really fast. If you registered for this, I will be sending you out the link, the recording, so you can go back and rewatch. And as Lindsay says, our next class will be starting October 18th. If there is a club near you, please talk to your coach about this program. They can help you get started. If there's not a club near you, please visit us at mycurvesondemand.com. Talk to your coach. They have more information, and I will be sending you the information about the information session. So we have a lot of information.
Lots of information.
I thank you again, and we look forward to chatting with all of you soon. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Amanda. Thanks, everybody.